Welcome to Growthcast, Insights for B2B leaders. Today we have a very special episode with Ekaterina. Nice to have you on today as a guest.
Hello, Alex. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be at your podcast. I'm a large fan of the podcast, and I love talking to you. Whenever we talk, it's a blast for me. So, looking forward.
Amazing, perfect. For our audience, do you mind doing a brief introduction around yourself and how you got to today with that beautiful background?
Okay, wonderful, of course. So this beautiful background is in Frankfurt. I work for one of the largest German banks, and I'm head of central sales, focusing on some fancy stuff like specialized advisory of the clients in terms of very complex products and services. We are doing tenders. We are helping clients with large tech projects, with implementation of complex global cash management structure. We are exploring blockchain technologies. So me and my team had the experiences with go-to-market of two blockchain-based technologies, looking at some new ones, trying to get ourselves as future oriented and waterproof as it only gets, because we banks have to deal with the very um, um, well, how shall I say, strong competition of neotech, tech, paytech, fintech, you name it. We have to keep up, and we are doing a perfect job in this regard, learning from our clients, with our clients, learning from the industry. So this more or less is my job. So I'm running seven different directions within my department, and well, that's what I'm doing for the last maybe, I would say, 8 years out of my 18 years at Commerzbank, and 20 years in total in business. I'm always very scared to say this number, because then of course you feel like yourself like a dinosaur of the business. But I'm also very proud to have this kind of the track record, and having seen also the business outside of the bank and tech, which is very helpful for me for my job right now.
Yes,
So in a nutshell, this is it what I'm doing.
amazing, amazing. And a big core of it, of course, is leadership. So tell me, what do you think are what's the number one important thing in leadership to you?
The number one important thing in leadership was to actually make this decision to become a leader. And I think that of course you have some kind of an inborn wish, right? But you, of course, do not have the toolbox. But rocket scientists do not have it either. You are not born into a rocket scientist, but you are born with the wish to explore the cosmos or to build a rocket or whatever. And I think that it's more or less comparable, right? So you are kind of born with the idea or mission of being the change you want to see in the world, or creating an impact. And of course, how can you create the impact? You can create the impact in society, you can create the impact just in your little environment, but you also can create the impact in the corporate environment. And this is was actually the way that I decided to go. That was not the easiest way, and it is not easy. You will, I think that you never like excel for like 100%. You always have to learn, you always have to adapt, you always have to course correct, you always make one or another mistake. But it's all part of this kind of the journey. And while I am exercising and trying to be the best version of myself for my teams, for the organization, and this is something my heart really beats for. So most of all, I actually like working with people. I like to see people developing, growing, outgrowing sometimes. And this is also a part of the learning curve, to let someone also go when they are large, or like
Ready.
grown up enough. So this is all within that. Very large learning in terms of the leadership is that on this way you have to be very clear about the fact that you will stop being everyone's darling for good.
Yes.
Having said that, it does not mean that you need to lose your core value of, for example, kindness. And this is my absolute core value. So you can still be kind and empathetic, but be really true and have a very hard core, and stay really very clear about your position, which might be an unpopular one. So this is something that, that's, I think that is a very difficult split, that you have to actually learn. And yes, that's a process, and this is a journey, and I am challenged very open in this regard, also by my team members who are the largest teachers, of course, on this destination. But I just have this kind of the purpose, and every day I try to become a little bit, tiny bit better for them and for myself, of course, at the end of the
Yes,
day.
amazing. And you mentioned, of course, people is the most important thing to you. Tell me a bit more about like how do you manage people and allow them to grow without being, say, micromanagey, but allowing them to flourish.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful question, Alex. And I am someone for whom micromanagement is equal to death.
I think I'm the
I don't
same.
like I don't like to be micromanaged, and of course, I do not like to be someone who micromanages the team. In the management theory, there are of course a lot of approaches. How you have to um, manage your teams depending on the competences, right? So it's very different if someone is just starting or on the journey, and that's very different from someone who is actually already very senior and might be even more senior than you are. And I have actually the whole palette of that because my team consists of really fantastic, strong individuals, ranging in terms of age from slightly above 20 to way over 60.
Yeah.
So this is quite a mix of ages, but it's also a mix of backgrounds. We have so different backgrounds, and none of them are really, or maybe just some of them, but not all of them are actually from banking. So I have like a mixture of backgrounds, mixture of ages, mixture of nationalities, 8 nationalities in
Wow.
just one department. And it's, of course, a bunch of different, how shall I say, um, individual approaches to each and every one, and I'm still learning also in this regard. But well, how do I do? My largest principle is, of course, I preach what I pray, and for me, ideas are over titles, meaning I am the proponent of open forum, which we maintain in my team. And is it easy? Well, for a manager, I would say no, it's not, because your opinion is, well, actually it can be, not, well, how shall I say, it can be overruled by the majority of your team, and this is totally fine for me if if it's valid.
Hmm.
So first of all, I live, by the notion of total open-mindedness, not having any kind of prepared opinion, but to just go open into the conversation, listen to every opinion, having every opinion with rated with equal weight, doesn't matter who that comes from, and also having the opportunity, of kind of the democratic choice, right? So this is how we live. It's not everyone's thing, because especially in Germany, we are more used to having really clear structure,
Hmm.
also real hierarchical structure, decision-making structure, and clear responsibility being, placed on the higher levels of management. So this is maybe not everyone's favorite way of working, but I never made a secret of that. So whoever wants to work in my team already actually know how I work and how we work and how we communicate. So this is something that's very transparent. And of course, I very much enjoy having this kind of creative energy and collaboration, and like we have created so many fantastic things that just have not been there. And bearing in mind that we are a bank and we still have the frameworks and everything, and like strong guidance and clear rules, regulations, and whatever, it's very difficult to be a kind of an entrepreneur and like to create kind of your department as a startup. But that's more or less the culture that I am actually moving in. So we are very some we had some trainees who were just visiting us for a week. They say, here we just feel like is in a startup.
Yeah,
It's the startup energy, and this is the energy that I like very much because it's also the energy of creation, the energy where also young people can relate to really well. And well, I feel myself also very young in this kind of the structure. So this is how we work for now. If we talk maybe 1 year later, I will say, well, now we have redirected because we always cross correct. And if something does not work, then we make the collective decision to change the things, and then we change the things. And
yeah,
I'm totally fine with that.
amazing. And moving on from a bit of the leadership stuff, let's talk sales. We've both been in sales, etc. What is your thesis in terms of growing a sales team and being successful?
Yeah. Um, Also, billion-dollar question. To me, sales is about relationships. So, because let's be honest, in terms of the products,
Yeah,
we all are really comparable or interchangeable, right? So, like all of the large banks have more or less similar products, similar offerings, similar good high quality of service. So it's very difficult to find the USP just with, of course, maybe you are sometimes a little bit quicker than than their competitors, right? You bring some innovation, and then of course you can get aggressive on this innovation, and that's what all of us are doing,
yeah,
trying to find the window of opportunity and then scale that up. That's of course for sure, but at the end of the day, I think that the foundation of everything is the deep relationships that we maintain with our clients, because within this relationship you develop the trust, you develop track record, you develop, the client knows that you are very reliable, and they trust you also to maybe try, a new technology. So for example, we do not need to do any cold sales because we actually have the unbelievably strong client base. So actually what I do with my teams is we advise the client, and we advise the client not from the perspective of the product or technology, but we advise the client from the perspective of the client. So first of all, we try to understand, or we understand, it's my absolute guidance in my team, but also we do it in sales in general. First of all, we understand the client needs, we analyze the client needs, understand the client needs, understand the market needs, and then we think in terms of the products that match the client needs to create the value. So, and
absolutely.
I think that in a nutshell, this is actually, so to say, the well, if you want, it's the secret of sales, because in this case it does not even feel like sales, and I do not I well my of course my function is called sales, but I do not feel myself as a salesperson. I feel myself as an advisor
Yeah,
for the clients, and that's how we not just position ourselves, that's how we live by.
absolutely. I really like the consultative style of sales. You know, I used to be at Gartner, so it was always like, okay, what's the best route for you to go from here to here, as opposed to, hey, buy my phone straight away is better because of all these features. So, no, I completely agree.
Exactly, I know we are on the same page, Alex.
Yeah,
So that's why I also love talking to you so much. I know that you understand the way I'm thinking, and I directly
of
understand the
course.
way you do.
Of course. And when you're looking at the at sales growth or sales conversion, what's the one or two things you're most focused on to drive that business growth?
Yeah, I think it very much depends on which kind of the product we are talking about, right? There are some very easy products, and there are some very complex products which require a certain level of integration, a certain level of budget, a certain level of expertise, technical expertise, and a certain or maybe not that very easy or straightforward decision making process. And if we are talking about this kind of the products, and I personally had the experiences, for example, with this kind of blockchain based technologies, which is like enormously high maintenance, so to say, project for the client. So the conversion rate there will be, of course, a very different one, and we will also consider it as success. You know, if we just get, well, I don't know, less than 5% converted,
Mm-hmm.
and we are going from the really highly qualified leads. So we already, create the leads which are perfectly suitable. So we calculate actually the conversion factor from already a very thoroughly selected base where the probability of success is quite high. And if we get there, the conversion rate, which is below 5%, is the total success, right? But if we are talking about products like out of the shelf, so actually I see the probability of over 50%. And in my business, which is, well, one of my core businesses is tender business of the bank. So we run all the tenders of the bank. We had several fantastic years where our rate of success was over 70%.
Wow.
And this is just due to this kind of the advisory and the kind of individualization and working together with the client, understanding their needs, and sometimes even procreation. So creating with the client actually something that we did not have before. And this is the experience I've made several years ago when the largest tender of the bank has hit my table. And it was like by no means that would have ever been able to be shortlisted with the level of innovation that we had at the time. So this was where we decided to not take no for an answer and not to give no as an answer to the client. And of that tender, we created the largest innovation project of the bank with the help of top management, signing the flower letter for the client up, aligning our roadmaps for innovation with the targets of the client, and we made it. So it's
Amazing.
not just we just made it and won the largest tender in the history, but we also have brought several groundbreaking innovations. And of course, this is something that for me was really turning point because this is how I am thinking now. So actually, it's also sometimes it's even procreation with the client, which we are actually very happy about because clients are sometimes much more visionary than we in our own bubble. So clients actually bring us the ideas, and then we just need to, try to get those ideas, manifested in terms of the product.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really like that 70% conversion. Is I'm jealous. I need to get to that
Yeah,
point.
yes. But well, I can, of course, it's tender business is of course not as numerous business, right? Because tender are just prerogative for really large companies. So it's not like thousands of leads that we are talking about, but it's maybe below 100. So this is like a different type of the business.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And now moving forward, future wise, where are you seeing sales going? What are your viewpoints in the industry in the next year or so?
Of course. Also, very interesting question. And of course, with the degree of AI taking over the sales jobs and agents, being everywhere, I think that what we still need to capitalize on is the human touch,
Yes,
right? Because with all of the amazing technology that emerges, with digitalization, automation, machine to machine conversation, we actually lose the touch points with the client that actually make us reliable, relatable, human. So
yes,
for us, it's very important to maintain our multi-channel strategy, and we are not giving up on personal advisory, on personal contact with the client, while of course heavily investing into technology, and of course using whatever the technology is helping us with, right? But there are of course a lot of routine stuff that an AI agent can take over for you. But this kind of the human touch points, I think that they are very important also going forward, and this is something we are focusing at. This is our largest competitive advantage if we compare ourselves with neotech companies. And that's why, of course, it's very important for us, and I try to be the advocate for that within the bank, but also within the industry, to have this kind of advantage going further.
Amazing. I love that. And final thoughts for a growth leader such as yourself, anyone that's listening that's looking to grow their business, what's one piece of advice you'd like to leave them with?
Well, one piece of advice I always give, regardless of the question, if it's leadership, if it's growth, if it's starting something new, you know, my piece of advice or the ultimate message I try to convey to the world is that nothing is impossible
Yes.
and no one is perfect. Just
Amazing.
do it.
I love that. I think that's the perfect way to end the podcast on that note. But pleasure having you on as a guest. And I'm sure we'll have multiple other podcasts following this as well.
Thank you very much, Alex. Pleasure is mine. Thank you.